muscles ache. He didn't have any sort of medication for it in his saddlebags, and Waco was the first real town he had come to in his wanderings since then. He had followed the Brazos from Parker County and thought he might drift with it all the way on down to the Gulf Coast. Waco had grown a lot from the little settlement that had centered around a river ferry when it was founded. Some of the streets were paved. Gas lights sat on top of poles on nearly every block of downtown, and there were quite a few businesses housed in brick buildings that rose 3 or 4 stories above the street. Frank wouldn't have been surprised if some of the places even had those newfangled telephones installed. He reined to a halt in front of a building with a sign on it that read Morrison's Old Corner Drugstore. He ought to be able to get something for his shoulder there, he thought, as he swung down from the saddle. He looped Stormy's reins over a hitch rail and told Dog to stay put. The big cur sat down on the boardwalk in front of the drugstore. The people who walked along there gave him a wide berth, but Dog ignored them as being beneath his dignity. Frank put his left hand on the small of his back and stretched before he went into the store. He was a tall man, with the broad shoulders and lean hips of a natural-born horseman. A while back he had been severely wounded and had lost a lot of weight, but his frame had just about filled back out to its normal, muscular proportions. He wore jeans and a faded blue work shirt. Thick, graying, dark hair hung out from under his brown Stetson. It would have been easy to take him for a roaming cowboy, except for the well-worn walnut grips of the Colt Peacemaker that rode in a black holster on his right hip, and the way his big right hand never strayed far from the butt of that gun. He went into the drugstore, which was the usual narrow, crowded frontier apothecary shop with a counter in the back where all sorts of nostrums and tonics and other patent medicines were sold. A counter on the right-hand wall served as a soda fountain, and as Frank saw that, a thirst gripped him. It was mid-afternoon, and the sun outside was hot. A cool soda would go down good right about now, he thought. First, though, he walked back to the rear counter and said to the druggist, "Got anything for a sore shoulder?" "Sure do, mister," the man replied. "Some of my own concoction. I call it Dr. Alderton's Muscle Cream. It'll loosen you right up." "You're a doctor, are you?" The young man grinned. "Well, not really, but some people call me Doc. That's close enough, isn't it?" "Close enough for me, as long as that medicine of yours works. I'll take a jar." The druggist got the medication down from a shelf behind him. "Anything else I can do for you?" Frank looked around at the soda fountain. "I could use a nice cool drink." "Coming right up," Doc Alderton said as he walked around behind the soda fountain. "You know, most fellows who come in from the trail head straight to one of the saloons. They'd rather have beer or whiskey than a phosphate." "I don't have anything against beer and whiskey," Frank said as he faced Alderton across the polished hardwood counter and let his left hand rest on top of it. "Sometimes, though, especially when it's hot, a man needs something else to cut the dust." "You'll like this," the druggist said as he took down a clean glass from a shelf, pulled a lever to squirt some dark syrup in it, and then filled the glass the rest of the way with carbonated water from another spout. He handed it to Frank. "Try that." Frank took a sip of the cool beverage and nodded appreciatively. It tasted like fruit, but he couldn't put his finger on just what kind of fruit. A blend of several different ones, he thought. "Mighty tasty. Another of your concoctions?" "As a matter of fact, it is," Alderton responded with a proud smile. "What do you call it?" "Well, it doesn't really have a name yet. Folks have started calling it a Waco after the town, but my boss, Mr. Morrison, says it needs a better name than that." Frank took a longer swallow and then licked his lips. "Whatever you call it, it's good." Alderton looked pleased as punch at the praise, but the smile suddenly vanished from his face as the little bell over the door jingled and he glanced in that direction. A worried frown appeared on his features as well. Up until now, Frank had been the only customer in the drugstore. He supposed the middle of the afternoon like this was a slack time for business. But since Alderton didn't look pleased by the arrival of another potential customer, Frank thought it might be wise.